Greetings and salutations all, I.S. Anderson here once again, and today is going to be the discussion of the book Ready Player One. And as always, this is a book discussion. It is intended for the people who have already read the book, and if you have not read the book, you don't want to watch this because there will be some very intense spoilers. Okay. Okay, as far as the 80s nostalgic stuff goes, that was a lot of that hit very near and dear to me. Talking about the movies like War Games and 16 Candles and the John Hughes films. I never saw Heathers, but I did know about it. I basically know what that's about, so I did recognize the title, and I also recognized a lot of the songs that they talked about. Not so much the Rush ones, but Dead Man's Party. Yeah, I kind of remember what that sounds like. I'm not gonna sing it for you here because you don't want me to do that. But anyway, and the Tomb of Horrors. Yeah, I am kind of sort of embarrassed to admit that when they first were talking about the clue, and the clue mentions something, a tomb filled with horrors. I'm thinking, wait, are they referencing the Tomb of Horrors? Because I remember, Halliday, the guy who invented everything. I remember he was very into Dungeons and Dragons, and the Tomb of Horrors is one of the more popular, dungeons, for a Dungeons and Dragons adventure. It was pretty popular in its time. It was quite infamous for being extraordinarily difficult because it was written by Gary Gygax, and before he written that one, he had a reputation of his dungeons being too easy, so he created the Tomb of Horrors, which basically killed everybody just by, every time they turned a corner, they were dead. So I was a little bit worried. I'm like, how is Wade going to get through the Tomb of Horrors with a level 3 character? And, well, it makes sense. He had a module, right next to him, and, a map, and, if he had the Dungeon Master's knowledge, I guess it would be kind of easy for a player to get through it. But no, I'm not a big Dungeons and Dragons, just off the bat, I'm not a big Dungeons and Dragons fan. I mean, all the times I've played it in my entire life, you could count on one hand, and I don't think I've played it for quite a long time, since I was maybe not even high school, maybe even before that. And then when he gets to the end of the Tomb of Horrors, he has to face off against the Lich King, and then the Lich King says, "We're going to joust." And I kind of already knew what he was talking about, and then Wade says, "Well, there's going to be horses in here," and then the Lich goes, "There's not going to be horses, birds." Yeah, that's another thing. Will Wheaton actually made his voice sound very eerie and deathly when he did it. So yeah, that was kind of cool. But yeah, I remember the video game Joust. Again, that's something that I only played maybe like 2 or 3 times in my life, but I can remember that video game, and you can still find some coin-operated ones of it out there. But it's basically you've got a joystick and you've got one button that says flap, and you got to keep repeatedly hitting it to get your bird to flap, and then hit another bird and joust. So yeah, I kind of remembered that one too. Yeah. And also the game Adventure, I never did find the Easter egg in that one, but I do remember that game, and I do remember, you were the little square, and your sword's the arrow, and you gotta poke the dragons that look like flat ducks with holes in them. Yeah, I remember that game pretty well. I used to love to play that game when the Atari 2600 came out, and it's just like, oh my god, I can't believe they're bringing all this stuff up. But yeah, that was quite a trip for me. So anyway, and okay, so the Gunters versus the whole Sixers. I mean, if you think about it, the whole Sixers angle of it, I mean, it was kind of cliche, the big corporation, they're using all their money and influence so they can, turn this thing that we all love into a pot of greed and all that stuff. And it's pretty typical, yet not only does it work very well, but I found myself hating Sorrento and the whole Sixers more than I hate most villains. I mean, even after he starts killing people or trying to get people killed, I mean, I still hate him. I mean, not as much as Joffrey, of course, but because nobody hates anybody as much as they hate Joffrey. But anyway, yeah, I hated the Sixers, a lot. I don't know why. It's just, I mean, they didn't really do anything that a lot of other, book villains do. But for some reason, I just really hated them. I just really hated Sorrento, and they're the villains. You're supposed to hate them, but still, can't figure out why I hated them to the extent that I did. Okay, and yeah. What I find interesting about this, I remember the one line that not Halliday said, but his partner that was still alive, and I don't remember, I can't remember his name, sorry, but he said one line that he no longer wanted to deal with the Oasis because he kind of blamed the Oasis for man's downfall or things getting as bad as they were. And yeah, there were things like the energy crisis. I think was really the main catalyst and why things all went to hell, and our burning of fossil fuels and running out of them. But I do think, yeah, I can see where he was coming from with that. Instead of dealing with our problems, we all decided to retreat into the Oasis, to hide from our problems rather than deal with them. And I could sort of see his point. Whether or not something like that would actually happen, who knows? Who could say? That's another thing that I really liked about this. This is a dystopian world that I could actually see happening. I mean, a lot of the other dystopian worlds that come out nowadays, I can't really see them happening. I mean, the Hunger Games, I could sort of see that happening with, the way we parade celebrities up and down and idolize sports heroes and all that stuff and sensationalize television. I could almost see television getting to the point where they really are killing people for entertainment value, but that's still kind of off. And I could sort of see the government doing what the government in Hunger Games did, but that's a little off. I mean, Divergent. I'm not going to give away the spoilers for that, but the reason why the war happened and people fighting over that. I mean, I can't really see happening, and a lot of other dystopian worlds where love is outlawed. But anyway, back to Ready Player One. Yeah, I can definitely see. I mean that's a theory that a lot of doomsayers nowadays is going to have. Once our fossil fuels run out, where are we going to be there? Now, is it me, or do the Gunter clans, I mean, not the main characters, H and Wade and Artemis, but the Gunter clans, is it me, or do they seem pretty useless, and other than they're just there to be an army to fight the Sixers? I mean, even when after the first copper key is found, you don't really see. I mean, I know some of the people in the Gunter clans apparently found the copper key after Wade did, but you never really see them on the scoreboard. I mean, it's pretty much just Wade, H, and Artemis and Shoto and the Sixers that end up on the scoreboard. So, and nobody from the Gunter clans ever do. So I guess the Gunter clans, I mean, they're just cannon fodder, to fight the Sixer army, which is fine. I don't know. I just kind of thought maybe they could be more interesting if they played more of a role, like if Wade had to meet with a couple of the leaders of the Gunter clans, to form an alliance with him, but he just pretty much emails everybody in the whole Oasis, and the whole Oasis comes to fight the Sixers at the end, which is pretty cool. And I really love that Mecha Godzilla was there to, yeah, the Sixers, of course, they're going to, the first one at the gate's going to, first robot you take is going to be, Mecha Godzilla. And I was kind of disappointed when the Sixers also got Voltron. I mean, that makes sense too. And Voltron died before they were able to form him, and they never stated which Voltron it was. I mean, obviously, I would think it'd be the Lion Voltron because that's the one everybody liked, but they never really stated what it was. But still, that was an interesting take on it. And yeah, so overall, this is just a really cool book, and like I said, everybody should definitely read it. And I think it does have a lot to say about the world right now and where we are and where we're going. The whole burning of the fossil fuels aside, it does seem a lot of people are getting more and more involved with the internet and less involved with the outside world. I mean, not completely, but it does seem people are trying to use the internet as an escape. And and here I am making a video to put up on the internet, but still, it's not that there's anything wrong with watching videos on the internet. Don't get me wrong, but it just seems as though a lot of people are using the internet to escape from the real world. And if the world were to get really, really bad, I can see everybody just going on the internet and just staying in their homes and just never coming out. But anyway, that's the end of my discussion video for Ready Player One. So if you have anything you'd like to add to it, go ahead and comment down below. Please comment, rate, subscribe. You know the drill. And as always, I'll leave my pertinent contact information down there in the abyss where it always is. All right, and until next time, this is I.S. Anderson saying, everybody, make your lives grand and have a good day. Thank you very much. And now, I'd like to do my impersonation of Tweaky from Buck Rogers. I suck.